for it. Hello, welcome to Together We Feel, where we are talking about engaging in meaningful conversations around Pride today. As we were in Pride Month, it's June 9th. We're so happy to have you here. We're so happy to be able to declare this, and we're going to have a very honest, authentic, vulnerable, and joy-filled conversation today as we share our stories and our journeys in this space. And I can't think of a more important time to have this conversation. It's always important. I mean, one of the things I always talk about, yes, we have Pride Month. Yes, we have Black History Month. Yes, we have Women's Health Months in October and International Day of the Girl and all those things. But every day are these days. And every day we should feel welcome and safe and anointed and all the things to be honest and engage in these conversations. But today we're going to talk about the fact that, yeah, there is some pushback in these areas more so than we've seen the last few years right now, and what it likes to keep marching forward. And with our joy and our reserve and our conviction, so many words attached to all of this. So I've got everybody's like, I couldn't find my glasses earlier, so I'm still gathering myself. I'm glad that I can all see my panelists and realize you joined me. I'm joined here today by my friends Melissa McCourt and Gretchen Skozer, and they I'm going to let them each share a little bit about themselves. They've been on panels with me before. You're going to hear them. You just heard from Lisa on the podcast about 10 days ago. You're going to hear from Gretchen in the fall. And like I said, they've been with me. They're going to be with me. They're friends and important contributors, and we collaborate. And they responded immediately. Like, I don't know who responded first, but it was within seconds of each other that they wanted to be part of this conversation. But I'll let you hear from them a bit about them and why this is important to them. And Gretch, let's start with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. So this conversation is super important because I'm an out and proud lesbian. I have been for over 50 years. I also co-host a podcast called Shit That Goes On Our Heads, and I also have my own company, Shows of Solutions. And I incorporate my gayness into all of that every day, every single day. And no matter how much on fire the world is, I am still going to show up every single day and find my joy. And so it's really honored to be asked to be on this podcast and on this panel interview, because they can try and push us down, but I'm going to keep getting back up.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things about you. All right, Lisa, how about you? You, like I said, now I'm not surprised by this at all, but also too, it's an interesting time because of all of the fear mongering that's going on. And so I was telling both of you earlier, like, I invited several people. I also have a ton of grace right now if people don't feel safe coming on and having this conversation in all of that. So tell me why you felt convicted about this.
Yeah, so I write books about joy and love. I have my Joy School. You and I have talked about that. I love being in your space, Melissa. I love what you do in the world. And I'm a P.E.E.L president. My transgender daughter came out about 5 years ago. I've been a P.E.E.L president for 4 years. P.E.E.L is the country's oldest and largest LGBTQ support organization. And this is just something that it blends with what I do in my day job. I have my husband calls it my day job and my gay job, but I got the two of them like pretty well intertwined. And yeah, I'm just anxious for any opportunity for education. It's my dearest, deepest, strongest belief around all of this, that education is the key. I don't want to believe otherwise. I don't want to believe that hatred and discrimination is as rampant as it seems and feels that it is. I have to believe that it's just misinformation. And the more we can do to educate, the better we can move this along in the direction it needs to go.
Yeah. And that segues nicely into my background in this space. And we're going to come back to that education piece later, because Lisa, you told me something when you on the podcast a few weeks ago regarding medical journals and what they say about transgendered people, that I was like, boom, it's right there. There's the science. You can say all the stuff you want and all of the rhetoric that's out there, but it's right there. So, and we're going to come back to that. So, but for me, my journey is interesting. So I grew up in a Mormon home, and I think we're all pretty well acquainted with how the Mormons have a relationship with the LGBTQIA plus community. I scattered away from that in college, started about my junior year of high school. It's like, I don't think this is right. This just doesn't feel, on multiple levels, doesn't feel right to me. So left that, had kids. Well, let me backtrack. Left that, met my husband, and at the time, this was early 90s. At the time, his oldest sister had literally just come out and let this Irish Catholic family know that she was a lesbian, and she had a girlfriend at the time. She didn't end up staying with her. She ended up marrying her wife Esther later, but at the time. And so that was my first, and you probably would, the insane things that I was told about the LGBTQ. I know it was just the gay community when I was in the 80s. They didn't give it any other names than that. It was just, there was no dimension to it whatsoever. And I just saw the nightmarish things and the twisted Bible verses that don't really say what they tell you it says to make them think. And so it always just seemed weird to me, but I had never, literally, there were some kids that, looking back, I'm like, definitely. And they mostly all came out later. No question in my mind that particular classmate person I knew was part of this community. And sure enough, just about everybody I thought ended up, when they felt safe and got out of my very tiny, small town, very conservative logging town, that they were able to find their safety. So I meet my sister-in-law, and who would soon be my sister-in-law, and I'm like, she's awesome. And her and I got her girlfriend, and I just hit it off. They grew up in a similar area. And so I come away from this, and I'm like, I don't think anything they told me was true. I was just like, everybody seems really normal here. They put their pants on the same way as me. I'm not freaked out by anything. And so then the wheels are turning. So then I move into, Brady and I get married. We end up being very close with his sister over the years. And her wife, she met her now wife. They've been together, 30 years, because they met the weekend that I had our oldest daughter, Sierra. So the weekend my sister-in-law met Esther was at a big concert weekend for Labor Day weekend in the Yosemite Park area. We lived in Medford, Oregon at the time. She was driving home and was going to stop on the way home because I was due to have Sierra any time. And Sierra was our oldest. She was going to be the first niece, the whole everything. And so she got there literally as I'd gone into the hospital and was having Sierra, and I had a really long labor. And so I had her sitting with me, tell me about your weekend. Just keep me distracted between contractions. And because I was, thought I was going to just tough it out and didn't have meds, and 26 hours of labor later. You don't have to do that, ladies, but that's a conversation for another day. But I wanted her to be, tell me. She's like, well, I met somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, because the breakup with Tracy had been hard. It had been dramatic. It had been difficult, unexpected, all the things. So she had been very sad for a while and was moving on and whatnot. And so I'm like, tell me. She starts telling me. And I'm so excited. And a few months later, we meet Esther. Esther is the favorite aunt for sure of my youngest daughter in all of them. But they go on to be very huge parts of our girls' life. They decide down the road not to have their own kids. They get married as soon as it's legal in the state of California, probably, when was that?
2008 or 2009. I think 2009.
Nine's what's sticking out in my head. Because I'm thinking of the ages of so they go on, they do that, but they're very huge parts of our lives. And we do a lot with them. They're the ones that took the kids to Legoland. God bless them. They did all the things. So all these years I'm going through, and we're continue to be in church spaces, but I'm just shaking my head at everybody around me talking about this sin that I'm like, I just don't see it. So I never I just don't get it. And I finally was like, and they try, the whole church of love love the sinner, not the sin. I'm like, well, okay, we're just going to, where does it say, you still haven't proved to me that this is a sin. You still haven't identified to me where this is a sin. And two, all the language and all the fear around it was just like kind of the same unraveling. And so finally it was probably, I don't know, 10 years ago where I was just like, I finally started really speaking up about it in the church spaces. Like I wasn't quiet about it anymore. I didn't just sit there. I'm like, I just would just be like, I just don't agree. I just don't agree. I just think you're wrong. And, and getting looked at like I had got two heads. And then we were able to find a church space in Chicago that was everybody welcome, all backgrounds, everybody welcome, all people here. And it was like, oh, finally a space that feels actually like what it might be like to be from Jesus. And then by 2020, I just had it with organized church spaces. I'm like, no, I'm out. Like this description and this variation that you're giving me about God is just not adding up with anything I believe. You tried to tell me that my husband was bad because, he wasn't this religion. You tried to tell me that my two sister-in-laws are evil when they're honestly some of the best humans you'll ever meet on the planet, bar none, whether they're gay, leopards, white, cisgendered, I don't care what they are. They're the best humans on the planet. And so I'm just like, I just don't believe this bullshit anymore. And so then it just became this thing of like, it's not enough for me to, and I don't know if I ever believed it. Like really thinking back on it now, it just always seemed odd. And this argument and so many other arguments. And so I was like, no, it's not enough. I've sat on the sidelines. I need to start using my white, cisgendered, middle-class, ridiculous privilege and start actually being bold and start actually showing up and not just like, loving you in the spaces you're in the rooms, but actually talking about it and challenging the conversation. And so I'm, by the fact that I'm 55 years old, I'm admittedly a lot newer to this conversation in terms of being vocal. I was never, I would say, my husband and I have talked about this a lot over the years, and because there's other areas and topics that this has come up, and he's like, we were just complacent, we were comfortable because we had the privilege to be comfortable. Like we could ebb in and out of all these worlds without any real damage done. And it wasn't until we really realized the damage that was to not be willing to be vocal, to be supportive, to actually be an ally and not just be performative in spaces and so now I probably am on the other end, or I'm just kind of obnoxious about it because not obnoxious. I think I just don't, I'm just like, I said it when I was having a conversation with another podcast guest a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I just don't get it. Even if, let's just say you believe all the bullshit over here. Let's just say that. Do you want your freedom to show up every day how you believe you're supposed to be showing up every day, authentic and honesty? Do you want someone to tell you that that's illegal or wrong or inappropriate or whatever? Do you want somebody to do that to you? Why the hell are you so scared of? What? Go away. Like, if you can't be nice, if you can't be kind, if you can't be welcoming, if you can't be curious and inviting, then I just don't get it. So I operate from a kind of just a space of like, everybody was made to be their authentic selves, and nobody knows who that authentic self is more than you yourself. And when you are denied or told that it's not okay to show up as your authentic self, that is the most ungodly, unkind thing I can think of to do. And so that is my very swerving story and landing in this space where now I'm just like, you can't go back and change your past. And I'm really grappling with a lot of areas in my life. I'm like, God, I wish, if I could have done this in my 30s and 40s, if I would have known, I didn't want to know, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, I can't do that, but I can be a voice and a place that provides safe spaces for voices to come in and have these conversations. So there it is. That's my story. So
Melissa, your story is so valuable because it's so many people's story, except you had the blessing, the benefit of up close and personal with some beautiful lesbian people that you happen to have in your life. Imagine if you hadn't had that. Just try to imagine if that hadn't been the case. That's what we're dealing with. That's the education piece. That's the manipulation, the gaslighting, the brainwashing that so many are up against, whether it's from religion or a politician that they admire and trust and believe who's spewing nonsense from the highest voices in government. That is the hurdle. That is the obstacle. So thank you for illustrating it so beautifully, how somebody with a beautiful, good heart could be brought up to be so gaslighted and misled.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that you can unlearn bullshit and learn the truth. Like your age or what you've been told or that's not an excuse. And I do stand firm in that. So,
And,
right, go ahead.
And thankfully for you, you had those experiences, right? Where you could learn from. And I think that a lot of times people just kind of get into their own corner and don't look to see how their conversations or what they're saying about a certain group of people can be harmful and hurtful all at the same time. And not understanding, kind of where we've come from. I'm telling you, I came out in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me, like my parents were super duper supportive. I'm turning 62 in a couple of months, and I never thought in my lifetime I would have to fight so hard again to keep the rights that we have. Like, my wife and I have been together for 30 years, married 16, and you're right. I went back and looked it up. It was 2009.
Okay.
It's frightening. It's frightening for us. Yeah. It's frightening for the kids that are just thinking about coming out. Yeah. It is frightening for the parents of kids that want to come out. It's hard to even. It almost makes you not want to have your true identity. It makes you want to hide. But here's the thing. I'm not hiding. Yeah. Like I said, I am loud and proud. Like, I'm not going back in the closet. Number one, I don't think I'm going to fit back in the closet. But, like, I'm not going back in. And,
right.
I'm going to fight for the things that, like, really don't make sense to me. And this doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, listen, I don't care what y'all do in your bedrooms. Like, why do you care what I do in mine? Right?
I just don't, all this crap that they make up to try to scare people. And it's completely fabricated. And I think for me too, I love what you said too about being mindful about what you say about groups of people you know nothing about. If you don't have a circle of friends that includes anyone, well, you probably do. You might not know it because maybe they don't feel safe. I'll just say that. But let's say you don't have a group of friends that includes a member of the LGBTQIA plus community. Let's just say that. Get curious or learn. All of our responsibilities as humans, and this is such a big part of what I believe in on my platform, is we're not only here to share stories, we're here to listen to stories, because we can't show up for each other unapologetically if we don't know someone else's story and how they need us to show up for them. I think for years, I presumed I knew, but I'm like, how can I know? I don't have that experience. How can I know if I don't ask them, if I don't get curious about it, if I don't invite the conversation, if I don't present myself as a safe place to land and be with and be authentic, because there is nothing as damaging to a kid to get the message that who they are is wrong, is not enough, is dirty, is scary, is inappropriate, is you pick the word, you pick the adjective. There is nothing more damaging than that. And to have them feeling so unsafe by people that are supposed to love them in spaces that are supposed to be safe for them, it is no wonder that we have the issues with the suicide rates and the depression issues and the anxiety issues. My God. I mean, it's just like, man, but I mean, I will tell you the narratives that I heard, because there's a part of me that makes me like, my husband works in college, higher ed, college administration. So the good fortune for that is that we've always been in and around college campuses. And so even if we lived in areas of the country that might have been more conservative by nature, the campus always provided a different kind of space, a very open learning space, a very welcoming urban learning space. Curiosity was welcome, although that's scary this day and age too, but that's a conversation for another day. We're not focused on that part today. But so it gave us opportunities to learn. It also gave us opportunities to expose our kids to a lot of different ideas and people and narratives, because the one thing both of us heard growing up is these other just ridiculous things about the LGBTQIA plus community. They're just absurd. And yeah, and it's just fear-based, it's inaccurate, it's wrong. And it's the twisting and manipulating of text and information to make it fit a narrative. And I think it goes back to similar to the abortion argument. So many conservative and church environments didn't give a flying flip about making these statements that were so against the LGBTQIA plus community until it benefited them politically. And they decided they could get everybody stirred up about it and create these other narratives around it and make it work for them. So it's like, I think my challenge to anybody listening to this is if this feels bumpy for you, or if you've been chosen a narrative that is not in alignment with what you're hearing today, get curious about that and do your own homework, and instead of just relying on the voices around you that have heard, and really dive into what's actually truth versus what's a narrative that I've heard. So, yeah,
something I wanted to tag onto that too is if you are at home and you have a child or a friend or somebody who's like in those teenage years and they're really questioning their identity and don't know what to do, have them call the Trevor hotline. It is there specifically for kids. I think it's 13 to, I believe, 24.
Okay. We'll put that in the show notes.
And a parent can call that number. If they don't know how to address it, or maybe their child's getting bullied at school, maybe they think their kid's part of the LGBTQIA plus community, you can get your answers there. They have a ton of resources. Use those resources and, become inquisitive. Ask questions. Don't assume, because what happens when you assume? It makes an ass out of you and me. Okay?
Yeah.
Listen, don't assume everything. And, one other thing I wanted to bring up is like right now, especially this Pride Month, people that are trans are terrified. Absolutely terrified. Okay, so you're not adding to the conversation by being negative towards them, catcalling them, anything. They're people. We're all people. How about be nice, okay? And maybe be a little kinder than you were the other 11 months out of the year. Be kind. Yeah. It costs you absolutely nothing to be kind. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Just walk away.
Walk away.
Yeah. I want to add to your resources. Go ahead, Gretchen. Sorry.
Well, no, Lisa, I want you to jump in, because you, as a parent of a trans daughter, you have been down this road of, and you and I talked earlier. You're like, we grew up. She grew up in a liberal, very supportive household. We had gay friends. This wasn't like a an environment or space that you would hope that she would have felt scared or worried or concerned about in. So, but talk to me about navigating that as a parent. After, I want you to add the resources, but then talk to me about navigating that as a parent, because you took the, like, I got to learn. How can I show up? How can I be what she needs me to be? And you took the approach that I would hope every loving parent would take. But, you know, PFLAG is there to provide resources, because if you don't come from that kind of environment, if you come from an environment that's not that, and you're having to navigate this and unlearn or decide how you're gonna do this, because there's not always great outcomes. You know, Gretchen had supportive parents. Lisa's daughter has supportive parents. That's not the story so many times. So many times. To this day, that's not the story so many times. And so talk to me about the resources and support that you found and now provide. So I know that's a lot that I gave you, that I threw in your lap.
It's a huge homework assignment. What's wrong with you?
I know. Here's your final for the semester.
I'll start with the resource just because Gretchen mentioned Trevor, which is an amazing organization. pflag.org also it's got so many great publications. So for parents in that situation that you mentioned, Gretchen, who do care and want to understand, go to trevor.org, go to, trevorproject.org, go to pflag.org. There are publications you can download. There are always people to talk to. There are local chapters everywhere across the country. And yeah, I think that the danger that's really been activated right now, the huge threat that's so up right now, is about very basic information, which presumably Gretchen's parents came into the situation with, and I certainly had come in. I had gay friends throughout my kids' upbringing, so I completely understood the very first basic premise, which is this is a way that people are born. And I think that's where a lot of the disinformation is happening right now. For anybody who doesn't already know that, it seems incredible that anybody in this day and age wouldn't know that. But there's so much about it being indoctrination, and it's trendy, and it's a fad, and their friends are making them do it. None of that is remotely true. And so I think that just the very basic information of, if people really understood that, if they knew this is a way that human beings are born, and yeah, there are incredibly scary suicide rates, drug addiction rates, depression rates, not having anything to do with the inherent situation of being born that way, having entirely to do with society and the way that these people are made to feel about themselves. It's a completely after the fact add-on that all these levels of trauma get into the situation. Any child who is validated and accepted for who they are is going to grow up healthy and beautifully, emotionally well. So when we understand that, it goes a long way toward, I think that's the most basic hurdle right now, education wise, because the legislation that's coming down now with the attempted bans on transgender healthcare, which has been, completely validated study after study after study. It's the regimen of care that's accepted by the American Medical Association, the Academy for Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Psychology Association, Endocrine Society, Pediatric Endocrine Society, World Medical Association, every respected medical and psychological organization in all the other countries around the world are in agreement. This is the care that affords the best benefit for children who are born transgender, and this is what is being legislated out of this country. So the reason it's so widely accepted is because study after study has shown the improvement in mental health, the improvement in everything when gender affirming care is given from as early an age as possible. Basically, the second they come out is when you want to start gender affirming care, and there's no children are having surgeries. That's just a completely lie. There's no surgeries being performed on transgender children anywhere ever. Medical care may start at puberty, might include hormone blockers. That's a step that would be carefully weighed, involving the parent, the therapist, medical doctors, all working in unison, every case assessed individually. Nobody is doing it without parental consent. Blockers are completely safe. They've been used for 40 years, used for lots of reasons other than transgender care, 100% reversible. These are the kinds of things that just, if people understood that,
if they cared to be curious, because it's real easy to take a mantra and run with it. It takes actual care, time, and but also the fears that are thrown around it. It's like, if you're getting taught something based to hold you in a place or a spot out of fear, that should be a red flag. But sometimes people are so entrenched in it, they can't see their way out. But thank you so keep going. I just wanted to throw that in there. But you have just Mike just laid it out perfectly.
Yeah, you asked about my personal journey. My biggest thing I had to get over was, how did it take my child this long to come out to me? And I've just come to understand that it's a very personal journey. And she knew from the time she was 9 years old, but she just was too decided to be in denial about it. Just decided it was going to be too hard and too scary. She's a very sensitive person and just didn't think that she could handle that in this world. And that breaks my heart. So that's why I'm so passionate about creating a world that feels safer and more welcoming for other people experiencing that.
I'm so thankful for you. I'm getting ready to cry. Mm-hmm. It's people like you, parents like you, that make it okay. Make it okay to get out there and get your kids the help that they need. And one of the other organizations I wanted to mention is Gleason, because they are the LGBTQ plus for students, K through 12. Oh. And they have some amazing resources that can help kids during their school years, right? Like, we're getting ready for the kids to get out of school now, hopefully.
Yeah.
But they have so many incredible programs out there. So alongside with F.E.E.L and all the Pride organizations that are out there, there's tons of research available to you. If you don't want to search Googles and get 1,000 resources that aren't helpful, open up ChatGPT. You can find out as much information that's out there within seconds. You want to check it, right? Because AI is not always perfect. But educate yourselves. And Lisa, thank you. Oh my God, girl, we need more parents like you in this world.
Mm-hmm. I've found so many parents, because that's basically who F.E.E.L serves, as parents who are struggling with their child coming out. And I have found again and again, if you just stay with them and help them. There were so many parents who came in so objectively awful at the get-go, and it would be just I have seen the hardest cases come around and have beautiful relationships with their kids. I think parents just don't know. I think they love their children, and they think out of the fearful things they've been taught, that they're being protective and helping their kids by being not accepting. I think that's the case, and they just need help understanding that it's the opposite, because that is the single factor, the single biggest factor. And it's the next one is a mile down the list of what determines how well the emotional health and general life success of a transgender child is, or I guess probably any LGBTQ child. But right now we're so focused on the transgender families that the single biggest contributing factor is family support. Even if you just have one family member, even if it's the second aunt or the cousin removed, if you have one lifeline, because they can find chosen family. Thank God there is chosen family out there for people whose biological families just reject them. But to have just even one biological family member in your corner makes a tremendous difference.
Yeah, that the statistics on that are astounding, and I think I'm thank you for sharing the part about the fact that that when you can get the truth in front of people and they're willing to listen to it, and we'll do things for our kids that we won't do for other people. And so we will maybe sit down and listen or go the extra mile for something because of the love for our children. And also, it's just, again, I keep going back to the how important it is the way we talk and the words that we say in casual conversations, in the grocery store, in our schools, on the playground, with other parents, the jokes that aren't funny, that are harmful, that you can't, if you are part of if you are participating in that, or if you are sitting there and listening and not speaking up, then you're contributing to the problem. And listen, I have been on the side of not speaking up place, and I carry no, great honor about that whatsoever. And, it's really about me getting to a point now where I can just I know what I know now, and I'm going to go moving forward. But I can also tell you, this is not an excuse, it's just fact. It was informed by the narrative that was all around me all the time growing up. I never heard anything other than that. And so when it came upon me as an adult to learn differently, so I think that's the opportunity. The point is, we all have an opportunity to learn. We all have an opportunity to get curious, and there is never, ever an excuse for being unkind, ever. I don't care what the scenario is. I don't care what you think you know. You don't know someone else's story. You haven't walked in their shoes. And this was, I don't remember what the context of this was, but I've heard it a few times from friends over the years that have lived with this firsthand. And it was like, why do you think this is something I chose out of a marble jar? I mean, knowing how unsafe the world is, knowing, why would I just oh yeah, I think I'll try this on and see how unsafe of a route it feels like for me. I mean, it just is so, it doesn't even make sense when I think about it in the context of that, because the choosing argument was something I heard a lot too. Or you can all these really harmful and terrifying, I don't want to use the word therapies because it's not therapy, it's abuse, but things that are mechanisms that are out there to try to, pull it out of you. It's just so awful. And I guess I just go back to, what if we provided a world where kids were born and they were just allowed to be kids, and there wasn't all of these, predetermined gendered norms? What if they just got to be kids? What if we asked them what they liked and they just got to say what they liked? What if we asked them what their favorite thing to do is and we just listened to that? What if we didn't start by dressing them in certain colors and giving them certain toys? What if we just let them be, and certain clothes and what if we just let them be who they were? Because I think we can all look back at a time where, I think it's from, age 0 to 4, where you're just kind of a kid, you're just doing your thing. You're being a kid. You're swinging on swings, playing in mud pies, riding your bike. Well, this day and age, you're probably on your phone, but you're just being a kid. And then they're all of a sudden, and this has nothing to do with just anything, but just what was the messages happening around me in the world, not just in the LGBTQIA plus context, but between 4 and 6, it all of a sudden became clear that there was a certain way I was supposed to be showing up in the world, and 0 to 4, I wasn't meeting that standard. So between 4 and 6, I morphed myself into being what it was, the messaging I was receiving. I was a very different kid at 4 than I was 6. And I remember that, and I only recognize that because I've done a lot of therapy over the years. And part of my healing was to that recognition. And I talk to people all the time, women all the time, who mention similar things, that they remember being pretty free. And then all of a sudden, in those early elementary years, they got the message that, oops, I'm not showing up the way that gets affirmation, that I'm told, that this doesn't seem to be following the script here, and you start getting those messages that the way you are is not okay, so you better shift lanes. What if we could get rid of that whole idea and just let kids be? I mean, and I don't know.
That would be a great world. I will tell you, we did not have the types of resources that, Lisa's daughter has and Lisa had now.
Yeah.
When I came out, I came out over 40 years ago. Okay, listen, like my only indoctrination to being gay was the lesbian bar down the road, right? Like that's where I found my community. And like that's the other thing that's being ripped away from us right now.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying to watch. I live in a very small rural farming community in upstate New York. I mean, it is tiny. But I'm happy to say that, like in the surrounding towns, I am still seeing the pride flags being displayed, even though people are terrified, right? Like we're terrified, and like I would be, getting ready to go to the Pride Parade in New York City. It's not happening this year. Number one, I just don't feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 62. I can't run as fast as I used to, so that's just not a good place for me to be. But I am doing my part as being supportive to our community, and I got a couple of books that I'm gonna drop off at the library. Right, like I found a golden book that talks about pride. Remember the golden books when you were kids?
Yeah.
Girl, listen, I found a book. And it's by Golden Books, and it talks about pride. So I'm actually going to drop it off at the library because I think that kids are naturally inquisitive, right? They want to learn, unlike their parents, okay? Because listen, we all need to take a step back, maybe listen a little bit more, be a lot less judgmental, but listen, okay? Just listen with your ears, not with your mouth. And be kind when you're listening. And, pride is really important to me, and people always ask, well, why isn't there like straight month? Okay, listen, like you haven't had to fight
day of the year, every month.
That's every day of the year. And you don't have to fight for your rights just to survive, just to be the person you want to be, or that you feel that you are. You don't have to justify being married to somebody who's the same sex. All right. Like we, we're human and we are productive members of society. We show up every day, and sometimes showing up authentically is really, really scary right now. Really scary. Yeah. So be kind. Can we just be kind? Just be nice.
Yeah. I mean, and you and I talked about that before, Gretchen, and and you've brought that up before. And I think it really does. If you're listening today and this is, like I said earlier, if this is all pushing you the wrong way, then get curious about that because there's more to that story. But also at the end of the day, just be kind. And being kind is not just about being polite in the grocery store. Be kind with your vote. Be kind with your activism. Be kind or non-activism, like who you support, who you give money to. Are they kind? Are they supportive? Are they welcoming? Because this isn't just about performative being nice in the parking lot. This is about, and this is where things really, I really shifted on this across the board, not just in one arena, but because somebody posed this question to me, and it was actually, I guess, in season 5 on our podcast. I met her in my time with Her Story network, Writers Network in New York. And her story rocked my world. It just brought me to the stark realization that the things I do that might help me can be sometimes, if I'm not mindful, could be hurtful to other people. And that I'm not just voting for my household. I'm voting for my neighbor. I'm voting for my community. I'm voting for people who don't have the privileges I have. So but if that's, start with being kind in the parking lot, if that's where you need to start. But think about the impact, the decisions you make, and the people you support, and the people you give money to, and the people you vote for. Are they kind? Are they supportive?
This is the problem. The problem that is so hard to hold. But what I feel like we need, if we're going to have these meaningful conversations with possibly others who don't feel the same way as us, it's understanding that they think they're the good guys. They think they are. They think that they are protecting these innocent children because of that same gaslighting that you experienced growing up, Melissa, because they're so entrenched in one line of information gathering, one-sided information. They don't know that they're being unkind. They probably they probably love their kids. They read bedtime stories at night. They think that they are protecting innocent people from this scourge that they're hearing about, and they believe that. So I think
that's a very good point.
We have to, and I like to try to hold the space to say, okay, this is a good person in here. This is a good person who's been misguided. This is a good person who's been misled. How can I take them by the hand, seeing their goodness, and help them to maybe open their eyes to something bigger?
Which goes back to the people's stories. Yeah, sorry, Greg. It goes back to knowing people's stories and their background. Where are they getting their information from? What's the narrative they've been hearing their whole life? Oh, that's how they got here. Go ahead, Gretchen.
Yeah, and just, it all ties back to educating yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't listen to the crazy person that is spewing all the ugliness and hate. Go learn for yourself. Yeah. Go learn so that you can become like a better ally, become just a better person. Yeah. Right? Yeah. The world's a really scary place right now. And it's not just here in the US, it's around the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The times are changing, but there's so much education out there and so many ways to learn about our different communities. And something else I wanted to touch on too, and not just for Pride Month, but people are using their gender identities. If somebody asks you to call them they, them, stand by those identities, because kids today are really struggling, and so are parents. Me being one, I'm not a parent, but we have a young friend of ours who is now came out as non-binary trans. Mm-hmm. Relearning the language. Okay, educate yourself. It's not, what? It's hard. Okay, we all mess up. But, thankfully for us, they are teaching us. They are teaching us how they want to be acknowledged. Learn the pronouns. Okay, yeah, you might find it stupid, but you know what? Do you like it if you're a guy? You're like, hey, sister, come here, right? Like, you don't like that. Mm-hmm. So, be mindful. Yeah. Educate yourself. Lisa, you have such great resources for just learning. Like, PFLAG's an amazing organization. Yeah. There's organizations in almost every city here in the U.S. I'm about 99% sure. You can step in and go listen in on a meeting. I don't know, go check a book out of the library. But be willing to learn so that people, including myself, we don't feel alienated, right? Yeah. Listen, I still get up out of bed every day. I still show up and go to work every day. I am a subject matter expert in my field. Nothing changes because I'm a big old lesbian, okay? Like I said, not changing. Yeah. Been this way for almost 50 years. Not changing. Yeah. But I want to stand up side by side with my brothers and sisters and be like, hey, we're not going down without a fight. Yeah. And we hope that, our allies are standing there beside us, cheering us on, and voting the right people into office, marching in pride parades, and not just in this month. Like, I want you to do it the other 11 months out of the year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pride it's huge for our community. And right now, a lot of us are completely terrified.
Yeah. And no one should have to live in fear of showing up as themselves. I mean, I think that is when I think that's a thing that strikes me today. And I wish I had a better understanding that younger, but I have the understanding. And I think because, again, in privilege, like, I just didn't have to think about it. So it wasn't something I considered every day until I was confronted with it. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute here. I've got some stuff to unpack here. This is something that I need to get into. But just no one should have to live in fear like that. And I think, ask your friends that you think they need support, but you're not sure. Just ask them how you can support them. Ask them what feels supportive to them. Be curious. Like, how can I show up for you right now? Is there any way I can help create more safety? Is there any way I don't create safety? Is there anything I do that contributes to you not feeling safe with me? But yeah, I think, again, it's that idea of whatever you do, whenever you approach anyone, approaching it with a language of love. And love is always kind. When you approach with love, you can't approach with judgment. Love and judgment can't work hand in hand. They can't go together. Curiosity and judgment can't go together. So hopefully your takeaway today from this is love and curiosity as you move forward. Whatever it is you are landing in this space, love and curiosity would be my two things. And when I'm trying to think, I maybe just put yourself in your shoes. Do you want anyone to tell you can't be married to who you're married to, that you can't have children, that you can't celebrate yourself honestly and openly and lovingly? I mean, just being mindful of all those things. So Lisa and Gretchen, do you have any questions for each other on anything you've heard from each other today?
I'm just in love with Gretchen. I'm going to be following up on that podcast 100%. Yeah.
I just, Lisa, one thing I wanted to say for like all your PFLAG parents out there is just thank you. Thank you for showing up for your kids. Thank you for teaching the world that it's okay to be you. And, my parents have been gone for quite a while. But I do remember when I came out, it was a funny story because I had taken my mom to a gay bar, because I wanted to tell her that I was gay. And it was so funny is we get in there, it's like this country western bar, right? And like my mom, she's just like so happy-go-lucky, and we get in the bar and she's like, Mom, I have something to tell you. And she's like, well, what is it? And I'm like, I'm gay. And she's like, you finally told me. Like, they'd known for years, right?
Oh,
but they were waiting for me to accept myself. And I think it's so important right now that we show up for each other. We show up for our community. We show up to make the world a better place, right? There are so many beautiful people out there that are part of the LGBTQIA plus network. The world is a better place because we're here. And, for the supporters out there, there's a great quote from Daniel Radcliffe, and it says, you don't have to be gay to be a supporter. You just have to be human. And we're all humans, right? Like, be nice. Like, we are all fighting for the same thing. We're fighting for the same basic rights that every single straight person out there doesn't even have to think twice about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you see like there's a protest or something about trans rights, join in. It is utterly important now more than ever that we stand up and we fight alongside them. You know, Stonewall was a big deal for all of us, right? It wasn't a party. It was a riot.
No.
But you know what? Lots of rights changed for us from that. So stand up, fight, speak your mind, show up for yourself every single day, show up for your community. And if you're scared, it's okay, because there's a lot of us that are terrified right now.
Yeah.
But just remember your own mental health. Be kind to yourself. Offer yourself patience and grace. If you can't find the nerve or the guts to show up to that pride parade that you go to every year, because you are protecting your own mental health, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Before I move to Lisa, Gretchen, anything else that feels supportive to you?
Just knowing that there are people out there around the world that are fighting for our rights, demonstrating kindness, giving us, good reading material, good educational material, that there are things that you can do on a day-to-day basis to make your LGBTQIA friends feel seen and heard. That's all we want to do, is be seen and heard. Because honestly, we don't care what y'all are doing in your bedrooms every night, okay? Like, I hope you don't care what we're doing in ours. We're no different. We're all human. We just love somebody different. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Lisa.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, that was put a perfect bow on it. The only thing I would add is what I find is the really hard piece, because those of us who are part of the community or heavy in advocacy for the community, it is a natural human tendency to be angry about what's happening. And I see so much on Facebook of the pushback and the anger. And as much as I understand the humanness of that, I feel like we have to keep the big picture in mind. What is it that we want? We want to recruit. We want to recruit understanding. We want to recruit. So, hurling the insults and the hatred and the vitriol, it's just another form of othering. We're a stand against othering. And when we're saying, you voted a certain way, you're wearing a certain hat, I hate you, you're a scum of the earth, it's not helping. Right. There's got to be some effort to like stretch into our biggest, most high consciousness selves to say, let me have a heart-to-heart conversation with you about what I know to be true and what the people that I love are struggling with and going through. And I feel like we're just going to somehow, affect that bottom line that we're looking for better that way.
Yeah. And I actually have one more quote, if you don't mind. And this one's from somebody unknown. It says, pride is not about being better than anyone else. It's about not being ashamed of who you are. And you know what? I am not ashamed. Not one bit. I show up every day. I'm a good person. I have a good heart. And I show up for myself. And I show up for my wife and my friends. And anybody else out that wants to open up and come out to me, I am a safe space.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And
also go ahead, Lisa.
Anything anybody can do to broadcast that message, whether it's social media posts on the regular, just I'm a safe space, that creates a blanket of love. It may not be changing hearts that aren't already feeling that way, but it just creates a visible blanket for those who need it. So great to speak to that.
Yeah. And lastly, and we didn't get to this and I wanted to, so we're going to wrap up with this. How are you finding joy right now, Gretchen?
Oh, easy. Okay, the sun came out, so now I get to go outside, okay? That is a big thing. I live in upstate New York. It's been a crappy winter, rained every day in May, but I get to get outside, get my feet in the grass, smell the fresh air. And my other joy is spending time with my wife and working on my podcast. Those are the things, and working on my company. But those are the things that bring me joy, because I know I'm out there changing the world every day just by being here.
Yeah. Yes. That right there. Yes. So good. And we'll come back around. We're going to let you share where people can find you, because that's so true. Lisa, how are you finding joy?
Yeah, ditto, same. People I love, being with people I love. And I feel that there's this, there's a lot to pull down our joy, right? In the collective right now, there's a lot of happiness, a lot of ick. There's a lot we could be focusing on to pull down our joy. And I have this little mind trick that I teach in Joy School, which is if you're feeling that, if you're feeling the focus on the love, the reason that you're feeling that is there's somebody that's being victimized that you love. Maybe it's you that's being victimized and you love you, or maybe it's other people and you love them. And when you focus on the love and you think, how can I love today? How can I make that call if that's what you're doing? If you're, how can I help somebody? Can we reach out, check on somebody, do a positive post, anything that you're doing, when we offer love to a situation, we're not just like grabbing it from here and throwing it, we're pulling it through us, and nothing is going to elevate our own vibration and bring us to a point of joy more than pulling love through us. So I think when we focus on that aspect of it, that the reason that we're feeling horrified by what's happening is we have love for groups or individuals or the collective ourselves, and we focus on that, it helps to keep us in a position. It's just a more powerful position to be in than giving into the fear of the situation.
Yeah, because I mean, the powers that are opposing all of these human rights want you to lose hope. They want you to, and to lose your joy. And I'm not going to get this right. It might have been Audre Lorde. I'm not sure, but said joy is an act of resistance. And I think that's an important piece to remember right now as we get up each day, is that, and it's such a necessary component of our health, like to be able to keep our cups filled and have what we need health-wise. There's so many good hormones that come into play that edify our souls when we take time for joy. And I think sometimes when you feel like, gotta stay in the fight, there's not time for that. I'm like, you have to, or you won't be able to do it. It's not sustainable. So find those joy. And if it's a little harder right now, then take a little time to invest a little more. I've told both Lisa and Gretchen, when we weren't, at different times, that in the first 3 months of the year, I was like, the things I'm doing aren't working like they used to, and I don't know what to do. I just kept kind of plugging along, and finally figured out, it's time in nature. It's time with people that I love. And we, my husband and I were both struggling with this, and we went over to my sister-in-law's and her wife, and we went whale watching with them. We got out on the ocean. We got to spend time in the sunshine. We got to be with people we loved. We got to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of their best friend's businesses they had opened a year earlier, that's music and record and entertainment focused, and a safe place for everybody to go in the Monterey Peninsula area. And we got to and it was just like, God, that felt good. That felt so good for my soul to do that. The next week we got to the ocean. A couple of weeks ago, we got to the mountains, all with people and places that we loved. So, find those things that bring you joy. And I think, the lasting message before I let Lisa and Gretchen share how you can find them and follow them, all these resources will be in the show notes as well. We'll get those loaded after the live today. Make sure you have access to all of this. Is whatever you do, approach it with love and curiosity. Whatever it is you do, wrap it in love and curiosity. Whoever you approach, whoever you're dealing with, you're never going to lose if you approach it with love and curiosity. And that might feel uncomfortable in certain scenarios where you've been told certain stories, but just trust that. And that would be the thing I would leave you. Gretchen, is there anything you want to leave with people today? And also tell people where they can find you and follow you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave this one's really huge. If there's anybody out there that is struggling with their identity or struggling with their pride. If you are between the ages of 13 and 24, you can contact the Trevor Crisis Hotline. If you're an adult, please contact 988. It is not just for suicide ideation. It is a crisis center that can help you find the resources you need to get to that next minute, that next day, that next month. Use those numbers. I am alive today because of 988. It is a number I will scream from the top of my lungs. If y'all want to find me, there's a couple of places. If you want to learn about my podcast, Shit That Goes On in Our Heads, you can hit our website at goesononourheads.net. If you want to learn more about my business, Shozer Talent and Wellness Solutions, just go out to shozersolutions.com. I'm very active on social media. Reach out to me. I am more than willing to get on the phone and talk to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And Gretchen's podcast, she's underplaying this. She's very famous in the podcast world, folks. Otherwise known as G-Rex. Her co-host is Dirty Skittles, two of the best nicknames you'll ever hear in your life. And was it the People's Choice Award you guys got?
Yeah, the People's Choice Podcast Awards we won for 2024 for Best Health, and the 2024 Women in Podcasting Best Mental Health Podcast.
Yeah. Over 1 million downloads now?
I'm going to hit 2 million in about a month and a half.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, there you go. There's that. Gee, good thing she's not making a difference in the world. Holy cow. So go check that out. And I mean, just such, man, I just every day so lucky to know you. And Lisa, tell everybody like a parting thought and where they can find and follow you.
I won a Women in Podcasting Awards last year too. I won for Best Expert Guest.
Nice. Yay.
Yay.
See, look at this.
They're great over there. Yeah. So I guess the last thing I can think of that maybe we haven't touched on is that love that we're being so deliberate with, which is such a beautiful idea. You got to give it to yourself too, no matter where you are, even if this conversation, even if you're like, oh, wow, am I a dick? Yeah, maybe, but that's okay. Love yourself because it's just a brain program, right? It's not the truth of your soul. Your soul is an infinitely love creature. Your soul is nothing but love and compassion and wisdom. So it's a brain program, and we all get installed with inconvenient brain programs. So wherever you are, love yourself, and the more you love yourself, the more that's just going to run out your cup, and you can't help spilling it out all over everybody else. Yeah. So I write books about love and joy. I have a joy school. I have online events. I have live events, and everything is at my name, lisamccourt.com.
Yeah. I love that so much. Acknowledgement is the first step. You can't address or unlearn something until you acknowledge it. So I love that. Right. Thank you so much for that. Oh my gosh, you two, thank you so much for joining me on this. I came in with this. I didn't have a script. I just knew it was a conversation we needed to have. And I appreciate you for coming along on this journey with me and being willing to be part of this conversation. It's a brave thing to do right now. So I appreciate you too for being willing to do this. And for all of you out there that are scared, it's okay. And also know that there are people and resources that love you and want to support you and show up for you. You're not alone in this. And whether you're a person going through it yourself and trying to figure out safety, if you're a parent, you're looking for, if you're a friend, if you're an aunt, an uncle, a grandmother, I mean, there's just so many different spaces and places that you or someone you love, there's resources here. They're going to be in the show notes. These two beautiful humans, you can follow them. You can reach out to them. So don't ever think you're alone in this, please. That's my parting thought today. Love and curiosity. Let's go out with love and curiosity as we celebrate Pride this month, as we celebrate humans of all types, forms, and ways every single day. Every single day. I heard this stat, and I can't remember who it was from. One of my guests lately, this is fascinating. I was shocked. 99%, when you look at people's DNA, the whole human race, 99.5% is alike. It's the 0.5% where our differences are. Now that 0.5% is a stark 0.5%, but when you think about it in that way, it's like, wow, we're pretty closely aligned. What if we treated everybody that way? Like, oh, we're pretty closely aligned. So, yeah. 99.5%. It's only that other point. Don't let that 0.5% trip you up from being kind and welcoming and seeing each other as love points. So thank you all. Take good care of yourselves. Thanks for being with us this week.
Thanks for creating this space. So good to be with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for being with us on Together We Feel. Take good care. We'll be back next week. Open topic conversation. That means who knows? We're going to talk about how we are and where we are and what we're doing today. So join us next week. Share this, like this, share it with a friend. Let people know we're here. Take good care and have a great week.